the answer. This pre-recorded program is sponsored by Tandem HR.
I see my name in shining lights, yeah, a different city every night. Oh, I swear the world better prepare for when I'm a billionaire.
It's time to get down to business on the weekend's #1 business program. Known as the King of Networking, your host, Shalom Klein, has worked with thousands of entrepreneurs and created countless jobs. So, to success. Let's get down to business.
And indeed, we are all about small business jobs and entrepreneurship in business. We talk a lot about business here. You are on with Get Down to Business, and I'm your host, Shalom Klein. Remember, you can always download podcasts from Get Down to Business on my website at shalomklein.com. While you're there, don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Shalom Klein. It's going to be a jam-packed week of content and information you will not want to miss. We've got a jam-packed lineup of guests, and I'm thrilled to kick it off with the Larry Levy, Executive Director and Clinical Professor at the Kellogg Innovation and Entrepreneurship Initiative at Northwestern University. Linda Darragh joins us here on Get Down to Business. Linda, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's great to have you. So we love to focus this program both on, call it the short term and the long term. And I know that you are so involved in that world of entrepreneurship, which often is sort of that long-term conversation about business, but you have also been very laser focused on some short-term resources for business owners, really in Chicagoland's neighborhoods. Let's start with that, Linda, and how you got involved. If you don't mind, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and where you call home, and let's talk about some of these COVID initiatives you've been involved in.
Yeah, so I've been around for many decades, but I think the key thing is I've always been involved in entrepreneurship, and I would say both the small business world as well as the venture world. I've done work in the impact space. So it's been kind of a rounded experience. I've been at Kellogg School of Management now for almost 8 years, changing up that curriculum, but really looking at what the needs are out there for entrepreneurship and how to make the biggest difference and build more entrepreneurs here in the Chicagoland area.
And along the way, you've built up a very, very impressive, obviously, network of both your colleagues, your Kellogg School of Management alumni and students, and you're using those resources to help the local community. Yes. Let's talk a little bit about that and what that looks like.
Yeah, so it was interesting. When COVID hit, there were a lot of alumni and students who were going, how can we help? How can we help? And I think we've all felt that urgency that we needed to help. And certainly we looked locally, what are our local businesses facing and how can we help them? So we've used a platform that links our alumni and students to local businesses. Local businesses can select office hours to talk to specific people with the expertise they want. We also have short-term projects that are being done by alumni and students. So it's been a great collaboration. I think what we've seen over the last couple of weeks is kind of the change where local businesses are. At the beginning, we really saw that they were struggling with that, PPP, those applications, et cetera. And then what was fascinating is we saw people start moving virtually and really gaining some new customers. And so that was exciting. We also saw people trying to plan how to do curbside delivery and other options, retain customers. So very interesting when everything was not open and how people adapted. Over the last 2 weeks, a lot of the business owners have been heads down. Now's the time to reopen. What we kind of are expecting is over the next couple of weeks is people understand how their customers have changed or maybe not changed. That could impact how they look into the future and how over the long term they're going to manage changes in their business. And we're there to help.
Oh, it's fascinating. So certainly utilizing the network. And you briefly touched on that a moment ago of sort of that silver lining that we're always looking for on the show. It seems that there actually are some businesses that have been able to pivot and be creative, even in the midst of COVID, to experience some greater success. Can you tell us a little bit about some of those success stories?
Yeah, there was one that was an exercise studio, and she all of a sudden went virtually, and all of a sudden got customers that were not in the neighborhood. They were in all kinds of other areas, and has gained customers. And her question to us was, "Can you help us? Can you help me scale? Because I'm in a growth mode that I wasn't before." So that was very cool. We've also found, by the same token, there were some specific food shops who went into an e-commerce model, and once again gained a lot more traction than they had ever anticipated. So this is where this, now people are trying to figure out this hybrid model of being both retail as well as virtual.
And Linda, I have to assume that for your students at Kellogg, this must be a very interesting time. They're entering into a completely new, as we keep saying, the new normal. What are you hearing from your students, and how are they planning their next business venture in a post-COVID world, whenever that might be?
So actually, there's no doubt that a lot of industries have been hit. But what's fascinating is where the opportunities are, and people beginning to recognize the opportunities in telehealth. Certainly, the automation in warehouses that is required, the analytics that are required now to give transparency and real-time monitoring of where goods are, last mile logistics. There's just a whole bunch of areas now that since we've gone virtual, we have to have our workforces work more productively. And we're finding that there's a lot of businesses that are starting to grow rapidly. And also consumer behavior has changed totally. People that weren't buying furniture online are now buying furniture online. So what we're trying to make open to our students is all these new opportunities, and to kind of move to those.
And I grew up, Linda, in an area that we fondly refer to as Skevinston, the Skokie and Evanston area, 60203, and Northwestern University is sort of an institution that I grew up talking about all of the time. So involvement in community and involvement in neighborhood is something that I've known has been a part of the university's sort of infrastructure for a long time. But you're really taking it to the next level. You're utilizing this opportunity, as we said, finding a silver lining. Tell us a little bit about how your initiative is really connecting with, let's talk about Skokie and Evanston.
Yeah, and I think this is kind of interesting, is that what we did is we reached out to the alumni who were living in Skokie and Evanston and close by communities to actually interact with the local businesses. And, for myself, right after this, I've got a break and I'm running down to a local jeweler who I found is one of our, on the system, and I'm going to give her business because, now I'm building new connections with local businesses that I didn't really know. So I think the alumni are really gaining that, the community is coming together in new ways.
That's very, very exciting. So tell us a little bit more big picture and long term when you get back to sort of the regular norm of things. Linda, what sort of classes and what sort of interesting things are you working on at Kellogg that might be of interest to our business audience here on Get Down to Business?
Well, I think, we're all learning together. So we will probably go back into the fall with both in-person and virtual, which is what I was just saying we're trying to help the local businesses do as well. So I think this whole experimentation of how we go digital in new ways, as we learn more, that we can offer that experience into the local community, I think it's going to be really important. I also do a lot of things globally, and using the virtual world to access people that we may never have accessed before also brings great information for all of us to learn and get better.
Well, I really, really appreciate all that you are doing, and really fascinated to come back and share some of those stories. I've been chatting with Linda Darragh, the Larry Levy Executive Director and Clinical Professor at the Kellogg Innovation Entrepreneurship Initiative at Northwestern University. Lots of interesting information, Linda. Where can our listeners learn more if they want to connect and perhaps benefit from some of your initiatives?
They can certainly go to the Kellogg website and look up entrepreneurship and innovation. We've got some resources there that could be helpful for people.
That's fantastic. Linda, really appreciate your time, and be sure to continue to share those stories with us here on Get Down to Business. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And you are listening to the show all about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship. I post regularly all sorts of resources for all of you business owners that are out there struggling through these times. Job seekers, we know that there are so many of you out there. Lots of resources posted on my website, including the past 6 years of podcasts from the show, all about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship. Get on my website, shalomklein.com, and follow me on Twitter at Shalom Klein Chicago. Don't touch that dial. We're going to be back with more tips, advice, and information, including the fantastic team, AJ and Michael from Ravenswood Studio and Lucy Creative will be joining us right after this quick break. Don't touch the dial. We'll be right back.